The Partial Breakaway Podcast with your hosts Nick and Junior and producer Vince, bringing you elite fantasy hockey information to help you win your fantasy leagues and win at life. Partial Breakaway Podcast.
Episode 42
of the Partial Breakaway Podcast.
Bringing you elite fantasy hockey.
Why is this thing still on?
Beautiful. I was introducing us.
Producer
My
Vince.
God.
This is Nick, I'm Junior, and that is Vince.
Thank you. Thank you for the introduction.
I don't know why I did myself second. I should have been like, that's Nick, that's Vince, that's
Oh,
Junior.
Junior, it's late at night on a Sunday. Don't worry about it.
Okay.
We're good.
Well, welcome everybody to our first part of the
Pacific Division.
So this is a fun division. And before we get started on the Pacific, there's a few housekeeping things that we need to complete from the first two episodes of our team previews. One of it is we're going to talk about our standings and how we think that the Central Division.
Central, yes, we spoke about the Central.
Yes. How the Central Division actually plays out in our eyes and how it's our standings are gonna come up, who's a playoff team, who's not.
Exactly.
And then we're gonna talk about
A mea culpa.
something that our listener brought up. So this is the reason
How about what you and Junior said?
about what Junior and I had said about
All right.
Mr. Mark Scheifele.
As long as
And we seem
can-
to have misspoke because the facts say otherwise.
So he
Shall we
called
just
us
start
out on
with
it.
that?
Listen, if we're anything, we're accountable to our own information that we're providing. And I feel a lot better about myself saying that I made a mistake because we're not perfect
At all.
So we're human.
Well, so far I'm perfect. Not gonna lie.
How do I mute you?
Okay, so let's give credit to @Koersky, KOERSKY on YouTube for basically calling us out. Essentially, that's what he did. Nick went on to say
I like how he starts with me.
Starts with
Scheifele
Nick.
was a product of Connor, and I did agree with him, to be fair, which is false because after we reviewed the statistics and
So-
we analyzed that, you want to go
Hold
with
on.
that? Go
Like,
ahead.
what statistics did we review exactly? So we went in and we did the with or without you.
With or without you.
Oh boy. Okay. He has to sing once an episode, everybody. So with or without you, and we compared Scheifele and Connor playing together, and then we compared Scheifele and Connor apart. All right. And what we saw was that Connor and Scheifele playing together obviously is much, much better for both of them. They both do I think 20 expected goals for. Anyways, I'm not going to go into the stats, but double what they do apart from each other. But Connor, without Scheifele, drops significantly.
Guys, hold on.
Whereas Scheifele without Connor still performs pretty well.
We forgot the soundbite.
Oh, yeah. Junior worked really hard on this soundbite, ladies and gentlemen, so we will not baby him.
Koersky is challenging our take on Mark Scheifele.
That took really long for him to do.
It
Just
took,
to
him
let you guys know.
it took him all day, basically, ladies and gentlemen. He has two children that he had to neglect in order to create this.
yeah,
And
yeah.
Okay, so Nick, you were saying that Scheifele, whether he plays with Connor or not, he still puts up the points.
that's right. Connor relies a lot more on Scheifele, it
Than
seems,
Scheifele.
than Scheifele does
Yeah,
on.
perfect.
So,
Okay.
so thank you for calling us out because, like I said, we want to be accountable on this podcast. We want to make sure we're providing good information, especially to all of you listening. And we want to make sure that, you know, if we make a mistake, we are man enough to say it.
Well,
Except Vince.
there was two mistakes,
Well,
right?
because I haven't made a mistake yet. So
You said that Shifley was a product of Connor, and I agreed. And then I went on to say that Shifley's stats were like a seesaw. And upon further review,
He's the most consistent player you've ever met.
I mean, 72 points in 74 games last year. The year before, 68 and 81. Prior to that, 70 and 67, 63 and 56 games. So he's basically a point per game player on average. So mea culpa on that one. Shifley is a tier 2 player.
I'm proud of you guys. I'm proud of you guys
Thank you, Vince.
taking this
Thank you.
on, and it's good. It's good.
Our egos are not that big that we can't
Exactly.
say that we were wrong.
So
Okay.
one more time, thank you to @Koerski on YouTube, KOERSKY.
We can we're gonna cut this clip and we can like add him, right? So you
Yeah,
can
we'll
see
tag
it,
him somehow.
tag him
Yeah.
so you can see it. Perfect. So you guys. Both
All
know
right. Moving on to the standings of the Central Division.
that
All
we
right, who wants to
finished.
start?
I'll go.
Okay, go
I'll
ahead.
go. All right. So,
Make sure you don't make any mistakes on this one, okay?
lucky for me, it's subjective, so I can't really make a mistake. I'm likely going to be wrong when it all is said and done, but here we go. So, at first place in the Central Division after 82 games will be the Dallas Stars. I think. Okay, I'm not going to go on and say everything there is to say because we've said it last
Just
episode.
say those standings.
So I
man.
got Dallas at 1, Colorado at 2, Nashville at 3. So those are the 3 making the playoffs automatically in the Central Division. And then I have Winnipeg, Minnesota in the wild card spots potentially, right? Because there's 2 wild card spots in the West. Those are the 2 that are going to fight for the wild card spot. I would have loved to put Utah there, but I don't think they're ready just yet. So I have Dallas at 1, Colorado at 2, Nashville at 3, Winnipeg, Minnesota, Utah, the Blues, and the Blackhawks.
All right.
What does yours look like, guys?
Very, very similar to yours, especially the top 3, except that I have Colorado above Dallas. I think Dallas has lost a little bit of that defensive firepower. I don't know how to say it, but like I really didn't like what they did in the offseason.
That oomph?
Yeah, isn't Dumba there now?
Yeah.
Yeah, you lose more games. So Colorado first, Dallas second, Nashville jumps up to third, where they were fourth in the actual rankings last year. I have Winnipeg taking a dive from first to fourth, but still making the playoffs on the wild card. I put Minnesota, St. Louis, and Utah right after, but I really feel that those 3 are pretty close, and I'm really hoping Utah can upset and make that final wild card spot. I do think there's 2 wild card spots from this division as opposed to the division that we're going to be talking about today, which is the Pacific. I think there's a lot more weaker teams in the Pacific. And then Chicago last. They're still going to get a top 5 pick this year. They might be a little bit better than they were last year, but they're still looking at a top 5 pick, right?
Yeah. Well, I'm going out on a limb here. I'm saying Chicago first.
Davidoff! No, let's shoot up.
Let's shoot up. No, listen, the top 4 teams, we basically have the same 4 teams. We just have them in different orders. I have the Stars first because I feel even though they lost their Pavelskis and they lost a bit of defense, they're still just a well-rounded team, and their young players are ready to step up, which is Steinkoven and stuff like that. So I'm not worried about Dallas. Second, I have Nashville. I think the pickups they did with in the offseason with Saros signing and being the goalie he is, I feel they can finish second. Colorado, I have them third, and the one reason I have them third is Nistrushkin. We don't know what's happening with him. He's going to be back in November, but is he going to be able to stay in the lineup or out of the lineup? So I have them third. Winnipeg, I have them fourth. I just feel they lost more than they gained in the offseason, but they still have the best goalie in the NHL. So with that, I think they can still easily finish in the fourth position in this.
I should say the only reason I put Winnipeg fourth also is that I feel like Hellebuck redoing what he just finished doing
he won't be able to.
is very difficult
Yeah.
to do 2 Vezina seasons back to back like that.
We should check to see when's the last time a goalie won a Vezina back to back. It's been a while, so I don't think he can. I think it's if they finish fourth, it's because he will have a good season, but he won't be able to put up the numbers that he put up last year.
I agree.
In fifth, I have Utah.
Oh, Oh, I love that. I
have
love that.
Utah in fifth. I think the young core got good experience last year. I think it's a whole new city, the whole new, like an
There's going to be a
expansion-
hype.
like expansion, the Vegas Knights, the Seattle Kraken. So I think they're gonna finish there. St. Louis, listen, they made that push at the end of the last year a bit, but I feel they didn't. They're still a bit young. They haven't added enough for me to put them ahead of Utah. Minnesota, I just don't trust their goaltenders. I don't think Fleury and whoever is in nets is gonna be good enough, and their defense is not strong enough for me to put them ahead of anybody else. And they're depending on a rookie to try to have the same rookie season as last year in Brock Faber. So, to me, that's why I have them there. And obviously, Chicago last. But Chicago, I love what Chicago did. I love that they actually put a hockey team together now. So, for people who have Bedard and stuff like that, it's gonna help. It's gonna help him in fantasy because he actually has NHL players around him.
I wouldn't be surprised if Chicago passes the Blues, just because the Blues are very how can I say this? They're one injury away from not being a good team.
A lot
if
depends.
if
on-
anyone of Thomas, Buchnevich, or Kyrou gets hurt, they're in trouble.
A lot will depend also on Binnington.
Yeah.
Because Binnington had a very good year last year. So Binnington and Hofer are the two goalies there. If they perform well again, we've seen teams get carried by goaltending, right?
Yeah, but like you said, St. Louis is one injury away. You would name their top 3 stars. If any of these teams lose their top 3 stars, you can't tell me if Colorado loses Rantanen or McKinnon, they're not going to fall belly up.
Yeah.
I think they could survive depending on how long they could
They
survive.
don't have enough depth.
No,
man.
that's-
They don't have depth.
So
Yeah,
I trust like Toronto to lose one of those big four and
still
still
be okay. Agreed.
perform.
Vince, to your point, the last time we had a back-to-back winner in the Vezina was 06 and 07. Care to take a guess?
06, 07.
Should we know this? Like, is this something
yeah,
we should know?
he's arguably one of the best
So
ever.
it's either Brodeur or what?
Martin Brodeur.
Wow.
And he did it twice in the span of 5 years.
Yeah, so it's
In
just
03, 02, 03, 03, 04, he won back-to-back. And then in 06, 07, 07, 08.
yeah, it's just tough. So listen, those are the standings. Obviously, we'll keep an eye on the standings. Fantasy related, this basically has nothing fancy related. It's just for us to have how do we say it?
Bragging rights.
Bragging rights. There we go. Bragging rights.
All right, let's start with our team previews.
Let's go.
Unless
Go, Nick.
anybody has anything else to say.
No, 12 minutes in. We have nothing
Okay,
else to
come
say.
on,
Let's
come
go.
on.
All right. So
Oh, one more thing. No.
our first team is the Anaheim. Do I say Mighty Ducks?
I
No.
think not the
No,
other.
they're just-
I know they're not
Are
Mighty.
they the Mighty Ducks?
Are they
they're
back
just-
to being the Mighty
they're
Ducks?
They're just the Ducks. But let's talk about their new uniform a little bit.
Listen,
They brought back the Ducks uniform, like the Mighty Ducks uniform.
Yeah, I'm just not crazy about the orange.
I love it. I love it. Let me ask you
the
a question.
full orange with the gold. I don't know. It's
Okay, but what team in the Western Conference has that color scheme?
none.
There you
Hey,
go.
no, it's not a bad idea.
Because Philadelphia has an orange on the eastern side, and I find that there's a lot of these blues. Like Vancouver has a navy blue and a black. Utah now has a baby blue. Like
Listen,
there's so many blues. I like the fact that this is different.
I think the marketing team deserves a pay raise for how they introduced it with the type of like the Seattle Kraken with the eye of the duck and stuff like that.
Yeah,
the
like
way
the
they did it on
teasers.
social
Yeah.
media, the teasers, it was amazing. I listen. To me, the brighter the better. It's different. It's good. It's,
Different is good.
yeah,
Different is
good, absolutely.
And I think that fan
Different-
base needs that.
Different yet going back in time
But
at the
that's
same
it.
time.
So
right?
they brought a little
Retro.
bit back of that retroness, and they threw a really bold color at it as well. So I like it. I personally like it. At the beginning, I was a little bit squeamish because I was saying to myself, but what about those greens and the teals and the, you know what? San Jose is there.
Yeah.
Like everybody has these colors now. Let's do something different. I love the Anaheim Ducks new logo and color scheme.
All right.
Love it.
Let's do a deep dive here in the Anaheim Ducks. So last year's standings, 27 wins and 50 losses. Like Nick always says, we don't count overtime losses on this podcast. Last year's power play ranking, 25th in the league with a lousy 17.9%. I look forward to that going a little bit higher next year. So who's in, who's out? Robbie Fabry. They acquired him via trade. Brian Dumoulin to solidify the back end. I kind of like that pickup. Who's out? Adam Henrique, who was traded at the deadline last year, and Max Jones, who essentially, I think it's safe to say, was a flop. All right, the player tiers.
Sorry, I'm going to add one thing. I know it's not on this list, but technically Cutter Gauthier is another one that was brought in.
Yeah, but he played a game, so I didn't add him when I prepared the notes. But because he played a game last year,
Okay, but it's his first full season, so I just wanted to add him there.
Essentially, yeah, you're right. Gauthier will be playing his first full season this year, if all goes to plan, I guess. So the player tiers, tier 1, 91 points plus projection. Nobody. Same goes for tier 2, 80 to 90 points, and nobody in tier 3, 70 to 79 points. Excuse me. But in tier 4, we have a little bit of a jam. Let's start with Mason McTavish. What do you guys think here? Is he rightfully placed in tier 4, which is 60 to 69 points?
So McTavish hasn't really gotten there in the past. However, in his first full season, where he played 80 games, he got 43 points in those 80 games, pacing for 44 points, right? The next season, which was last season, 64 games played. He scored 19 goals, 23 assists for 42 points. He was pacing for 54. So if the trajectory continues the way it's going, I could say that he hits that 60 mark. However, I do want to put a little caveat on that. It all depends on whether or not he's playing top 6 minutes. Right now, in the line combinations from Daily Faceoff, they have him as a third-line center because of the fact that Zegras is still showing as a second-line center here. So we'll see. We'll see. If he's a third-line center, I don't trust him to hit that 60 points. However, his trajectory is going towards that. And if he continues with top 6 minutes, he will hit it.
Listen, I think he's gonna. I think it's possibility you'll hit the 60 to 69. Not possibility, almost. I'd give it a 85% chance he'll hit it. I don't think he'll be playing third line minutes. I think he'll be playing top 6. I think if anything, Ryan Strome will be pushed down to the third line center, and he'll be pushed on the wing, or Zegras will be pushed on the wing. So I think he's up there. The biggest thing with them is I feel that their power play is going to improve with the Zellwegers and the Michukov and stuff like that. So I feel he's going to hit the 60 to 69, which is, if he does hit the 60 to 69, which is a fantastic progression for him because he's still a young player. And as long as he's progressing. So I think that's the right tier. I don't see him hitting the tier 3 this year.
So, Junior, you own the players. So, again, we're going to put a little asterisk on all the information that you're about to hear from Junior.
Pretty blurry still, huh?
Yeah, we all got blurry except Junior. Because it's your time to talk. That's why.
You go, Junior.
Go ahead, Junior.
I kind of feel like all of the Ducks are going to be taking a step forward this year. I think they're a little bit hyped up with the Cutter Gauthier acquisition. On the back end, they got some good experience last year. I think generally as a team, they take a step forward. So that 54-point pace can easily become 60 plus, right? I don't see him being a third-line center, honestly, and it's not because I own him. I think he's a better center than Trevor Zegras. I think Trevor Zegras is more efficient as a left winger with a player like McTavish at center. The question is Zegras going to be in the lineup for Game 1 of the Anaheim Mighty Ducks, right? Considering all the questions we have out there, all the rumors and so on. I expect McTavish to crack the 20 goals. Crack the 20 goals at least and get himself to 60 points. But it'll be fringe, right? He's going to be between that 60 and 65, I think. I think it's gradual steps forward, and that's where I see him going for next year.
Perfect. You want to introduce the next player, Junior?
The next player is who had an off year last year, I think is safe to say. Troy Terry, who is coming off a season of 76 games played, 20 goals, 34 assists, and 54 points.
All right, let me start here. I'm going to start with a caveat. I own him in LPHL.
It's the second time you used that word today.
Be quiet.
Okay.
The reason why...
Hey, we're not blurry anymore.
I know, because I fixed it.
Can I interrupt you one more time?
Oh, my God. Troy Terry had an off season last year. That's for sure. He had, and it's like 11% shooting percentage wasn't the reason, because his last 3-year average is 14%. Like 3% is really not that
Not
big
much,
of a difference. But however, I will say one thing is that this year he's expected to play probably with Leo Carlson and Cutter Gauthier on a line.
Leo Carlson, who won't be on the game count.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
like
right.
last year.
Exactly. The power play, we're hoping, gets just a tad better than it was last year, right? Because it's pretty low for the amount of talent that they have. And you just added a Cutter Gauthier. If Zellweger is there or Minchukov is there, full season, you're expecting a little bit more. On average, this player in the last 3 years has been between a 60 and 70 point pace. So I feel that he should be closer to that as opposed to the 58 point pace that he had last year. Do you agree?
Yeah, I don't see him quite hitting the 70 points just yet, but I think we placed them right here, 60 to 69.
Listen, I think the year you had.
By the way,
I'm gonna have a sweater say, listen.
No, I'm going to start counting the amount
No,
of times
so-
we get listen.
what I wanted to do last week.
So I'm gonna say, écoutez.
No, what I really wanted to do last week was the program we use. You could search a word, right?
Oh, yes.
So I was gonna search listen and then clip it so that every time you say listen, there's a number count. But I really didn't have enough time.
Definitely not.
But it would have been fun.
Okay, so basically,
No, look, keep saying it. It's your thing. Who cares?
No, not anymore. 2021, 2022, I think that was a write-off for Troy Terry for 37 goals, 30 assists. I don't think he's a 40 goal scorer in my opinion. At maximum, he might be a 30 goal scorer. Last year, I do think he had an off season. I think that new contract might have bothered him a bit, and not having a steady line mate with him. So I feel at this point he might hit the 30 goals, 30 assists, or 35 assists. So in the 60 to 65 point range.
Okay, so we have him ranked in the right range
I think
according
so,
to all
yeah.
of us, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think Anaheim is just still very young and not very talented to have any player ranked more than 70 points.
As they
just-
mature and as they
Yeah.
get better, I do see multiple 70-point players.
Yeah, 100%.
Like Leo Carlson, who we're not going to talk about now, but
Well, you
maybe we
can.
should,
Yeah,
right?
sure. Go ahead.
But Leo Carlson, I'm expecting him to be 70 to 80 in his first
In his prime.
in his prime. I'm expecting him to be a point per game
Yeah, 80 to 90. That's what I was
in his prime.
Yeah,
in his
100%.
prime. In the next couple of years,
Third, second overall?
yeah.
You're
Well,
not expecting a point per game in second overall?
guys, last year,
Yeah, but it was also
He's-
surprise picks.
Yeah, but he's a phenomenal player.
I agree. 100%.
Last year, he would have easily. What did he hit with this? Last year's
29 points in 59,
he only
55
played
games.
55 games, 43-point pace,
Yeah,
which
for
is
a rookie is not bad.
which is Logan Cooley numbers.
Yeah, exactly.
But
Right?
just to clarify, 29 points in 55 games. The poor guy didn't even have a chance to like get in a
rhythm.
groove, in a rhythm because
What was the bottle that fell?
all good. So like I was saying, Carlson didn't really get a chance to get in a rhythm. Oh my god. Someone's thermos keeps falling. Anyway, so Leo Carlson, ladies and gentlemen, we have a hot take here. In his prime, will be a point per game player.
I don't think that's a hot take. I think that's pretty much.
No, I just think it's hard to project that far ahead when he's only played half a season.
Yeah, but he's looked good.
He's looked really
He's
good.
looked good.
He's looked really good.
Yeah, he's looked better than people.
But
thought
yeah,
would.
he'll push a point per game for sure, I think.
And as soon as the people around him get better, he'll get better, right? So 100%, this guy is a point a game player once he gets a few years under his belt in the NHL.
If not better.
Yeah,
I mean,
oh, listen, it could be. So the other player that we had in the tier 4, 6, 6, 9 is controversial, but Trevor Zegras.
well, Zegras all comes down to whether or not he's welcomed by the team and how he reacts to this, right? Because we know that he was in trade speculation all off season, and they didn't trade him. So now you're an unwanted guy in a situation where you're expected to put up points. I just don't like the mix. I don't like the confidence that gives this player to go ahead and put up those points. You're expecting him to go out and do it because of the fact that he wants other teams to see him. I don't think it works that way. I just don't.
I think he's gonna hit the tier 3 points this year.
Wow.
I think he's gonna hit the 70, like close 70s, like 70 to 75 points this year. I really do. I really think he has something to prove. If he really wants out of Anaheim and the asking price that Anaheim is asking for,
Okay, here's my
he needs
question
to
to you.
put up the points.
Did they change coaches last year?
No, but did he change his attitude?
I mean, his coach last year played him 17 minutes a game.
Which is not bad for a forward.
It's not great.
It's not great.
It's not great for a
six.
top six guy.
Top
But-
6, 17 minutes.
The year before, he played 18 minutes and 50 seconds. The year before.
Yeah, but
That was the only year that he hit
Oh,
65 points.
okay, so let me rebuttal. All that speculation about Zegras was happening while he was injured, correct?
Correct.
He missed after playing 20 games. He got hurt and came back for the final 11 games. In those final 11 games, 8 points in 11 games. So in terms of attitude and in terms of coach's trust, I get it. The games probably didn't count as much back then, like late in the season, especially for the Ducks. But he still produced, and he still got 24 shots on goal on 11 games played, 2 goals, 6 assists, 8 points, a minute 47 on the power play, which is not much. That's something that worries me just a little bit in terms of what you said about coaching, right?
So I just took your stats. 8 points in 11 games. That's a 59-point pace.
60 points, right? That's where we have him ranked. I mean, but
That's where we
he's
have him
got the talent to go to the next tier. But everything has to come together: situation, line mates,
coach has to
coaches,
trust him.
right?
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, like, it stressed me a little less seeing him come back after all that speculation, and the coach still like that situation still made him an 8-point player in 11 games. Like, we'll see how it goes,
guys,
to start the season.
He has the talent. I'm not saying he doesn't.
no,
have
no,
the
I know,
talent.
but Killorn played 18 minutes and 44 seconds. Average 18 minutes.
That's
and
almost
44
2 minutes.
seconds.
That's almost 2 minutes
Yeah, but
more than
that's
Zegras.
ridiculous. Killorn does not deserve that time on ice, especially with the points he put up. You can't tell me the coach is going to put him out there again for 19 minutes, Alex Killorn.
If the coach doesn't trust Zegras, he'll put Killorn.
But there's nothing.
Or he'll put Leo Carlson.
But there's nothing to trust because the Anaheim Ducks are not a playoff team.
They don't like him. They don't want to trade him.
Yeah, I understand.
You're
but
put-
if you want to trade,
If
a
you're
player,
at work, you tell me, okay? And maybe you have some experience in this
but
field.
at work we can't trade we can't trade employees at work.
But they did.
No,
They
but
basically traded you off for someone else in your situation.
yes, I know. But what I'm saying with this is that
Did you feel motivated?
why
go into work every day?
coming.
It's
No, I'm
different.
sorry.
It's different.
When you knew that it was coming and you were still coming into
What
work.
I'm saying here is, if Anaheim's smart, they put this guy in the right state of mind to get what they want as trade. Because right now, anybody you're asking, or anybody that's asking about Zegras, they're all coming back with the same thing, which is the price is way too high. So to me, if you're Anaheim and you really want to get rid of this guy, you play him 19, 18 minutes a game and you make him show that he can play in the NHL.
Well, I'll
His
just
attitude is going to determine a lot of that.
100%.
Well, look,
Because if he comes in with his mouth like this,
A frown.
a frown on his mouth, and if he comes in being a cancer in the dressing room because he knows he's not wanted by the team anymore, and he knows he's not trusted by the coach anymore, then I could see them lowering his ice time.
Communication.
I'll end it with this.
Communication.
His line mates during those 8 points in 11 games were either Vetrano and Strome, Vetrano and Colangelo, or Strome and Gauthier. And Gauthier only played like 2 games. So with a better surrounding and maybe more power play time, I think he can easily hit that 60 points. But like you said, everything has to come together.
I don't like the work situation that he's in. And if I'm trying to,
But that's brought upon himself, right? It's
Yes,
him. It's not the situation. It's him.
Well, if you have a boss that comes in and doesn't like you, you don't. I mean, I'm still gonna go in and try to do the best I can, but I'm not gonna have that motivation the way I had it before.
But it's different in this case because the only way he could keep going because he still has another year. So he's got 2 full seasons left under contract. So he has to be motivated to play because your company is not going to trade you to another company.
Yes,
they might
they
just
will.
let you go.
No,
They
yeah.
might just let you go.
They're not gonna let him go.
No, but you,
Oh,
you're,
you're saying me. Yes, yes, they might
right?
let me
It's
go.
different. You don't necessarily have to be motivated. They let you go, and then you go choose your own place. He's not a pending UFA. He's got another year left. So he's like, if they want to trade me, to Vince's point, I gotta play and produce so that I can go to
No, because
I don't agree with that at all.
when do people
They can
get
trade him anytime.
when do people get paid the most? Or
On the contract year.
overpaid
Under contract year.
in free agency.
Yeah.
Free agency, yeah.
So he doesn't care if he goes into free agency hitting.
No, he's going to be
60
RFA
points.
though. He's not going to be for UFA.
Yeah, but, okay, but even though this is all
He's
on,
still under Anaheim
this is
control.
all on this is going to be on Anaheim to sit him down and say, listen, this is what happened. This is in the past. If you want things to get better, this is what we need you to do. If at some point we're still not together and we still can't get things together, we still need you to produce to get the best out of it. So to him, like, he does, mind you, I was gonna say he doesn't want to get traded, but it's not like Anaheim is a top team. So even if he gets
I'm pretty
traded,
sure he wouldn't mind.
no, but even if he gets traded to San Jose, I think he wouldn't mind because at the end of the day, it's still
Yeah, unlikely,
hard,
but
yeah. So.
all right, that's an interesting topic.
it's gonna be a
I'd like to know what
communication
people think. Maybe
Yeah,
we'll throw
please.
it out there. What does
Guys.
What's the future for Zegras?
Talk to us, discussion. This is what we do.
We'll put out a poll.
We like having discussions about these kind of things, and let us know who you think is right, and we'll go from there.
Yeah,
Junior,
worst
Nick, we're
case,
already
Nick will
wrong
do a mea
once.
culpa. Okay, let's go to the goalie tandem. So we had Lucas Dostal last year with a save percentage of 0.902, a goals against average of 3.33, ranked 51st in the league on 5-on-5 goals save above expected. Pas fort, not good at all. His counterpart Gibson, save percentage of 888 and a goals against average of 3.54. His goal save above expected ranked 60th. And now the goal save above expected ranking is based off 20 games played or more.
Correct.
Like Nick usually asks, but I'll ask, how many teams in the league?
32.
All right. So
32,
they
Junior.
rank 60th and 51st in a 32-team league. Yikes.
Well, look, when we talk about 5-on-5 goals saved above expected, we're usually trying to determine, regardless of how good the team is in front of them, how they performed, right? That's what the whole point of this advanced stat is. And both goalies just didn't perform very well. It is what it is. Now, can that change? Dostal is still very young. Dostal is somebody that's still learning his way in the NHL. I'm expecting him to keep taking steps forward. Remember how before we spoke about Zegras not wanted and potentially traded and so on? Well, Gibson has been in trade talks, I think, the last 5 years. And Gibson still hasn't performed, even though he's been in trade talks for the last 5
It's
years.
a sign for things to come for Zegras, maybe.
Maybe. So, unfortunately, I actually think both these goalies are very good goalies. I think that they will, at least Dostal will continue to improve as he's getting better and better in the NHL, getting more experience in the NHL. I've lost a lot of faith in Gibson. I owned him for a long time. I traded him away, and it appears that he is continuing a downward trend. So, I don't know.
Like, listen, you listen.
Shit, write it down.
Write down. But listen, I'll even say it 3 times. Listen,
Okay, stop now. I'm running out of ink.
if you put a Hall of Fame goalie behind this team, their numbers are not going to look very good. Like, this is like a San Jose type of experiment where, yes, the goalie's stats are terrible, but you can't tell me the people in front of them are very good. Their defense is very young, unexperienced. Their forwards are young and unexperienced. So once again, I don't blame. I don't see Dostal and Gibson being fantasy relevant this year because they're playing on a crummy team. But
Crummy. I like
Gibson-
I like that word.
I like
at,
that.
the end
Crummy.
of, at the end of the day, Gibson
Crummy.
once again is where he is because of the Anaheim Ducks, because they want the moon and the stars for this player who who hasn't performed because of them. And I feel this is just it's a downfall on Gibson, because at the end of the day, Gibson, you put him on a team, you put him on the Pittsburgh Penguins, his numbers are going to be better than this. You put him on a contending team in a playoff, his numbers are going to be better.
I think
So listen, I don't think any of these two goalies are
keep the pen.
yeah, just keep it on your right hand. I don't think any of these two goalies are fantasy relevant. I think it's going to be 50-50, the percentage of games they're going to play. They're each going to play probably 41 games. And at the end of the day, I think Dostal is the future of this team. And Anaheim needs to get their shit together and just get whatever they can for Gibson.
I agree. Dostal is the future of this team. I think he is relevant in dynasty leagues for sure. I think once this team is ready to win, they could build something. Like they're building something nice for sure. I think Gibson is just overrated, and I think especially veteran goalies, and he's like a young vet, 31 years old. I think they find ways to stay relevant, right? Even if his team is not good, I still expect his goals above expected to be a little bit higher,
I agree.
just because of his talent, right? You mentioned putting a great goalie on this team. I think they'll make saves out of nothing.
I don't think he's motivated.
I think it's meant. That's what I was getting at. I think the biggest thing here is I think it's mental. I think he's been in a rebuilding team for so long that he doesn't know what it's like to be motivated to win. You know what I mean? But from a fantasy standpoint, unfortunately, I don't want nothing to do with Gibson, especially in cap leagues at 6.4 million. I'd rather have Dostal at under 1 million for 40 games.
All right, moving on.
Moving on to the top prospects of this team, which is actually no, we're gonna go to power play demon, right?
Sure.
I put Mintyukov here and Zellweger, even though daily faceoff doesn't have Zellweger projected to be in the top 6, which I find a little bit surprising, to be honest. But odds are it's gonna be Zellweger, Mintyukov, maybe Cam Fowler. I mean, for sure in dynasty leagues, Mintyukov and Zellweger are super relevant, right? You wanna try to acquire them. I don't know. Is it because I own him that I think Zellweger might be more point producer than Mintyukov, or is it just recency bias?
I think eventually you're going to see Zellweger being a bigger point producer than Mintyukov, but as an all-around defenseman,
Mintyukov, yeah.
playing big minutes, I see Mintyukov taking that mantle. They have Lacombe starting. We're not sure if it's going to be Lacombe, if it's going to be Luneau, if it's going to be maybe somebody else there on that 6th spot. But I have a little bit more faith in Mintyukov, and you own him as well in a league, so I shouldn't be looking at you. But I feel like Mintyukov is going to be a better player overall, and maybe top power play guy over Zellweger sooner rather than later. Now, can Zellweger end up taking over that mantle? Yes, because he has that offensive pedigree. But is he going to be in the NHL this year? It's still a coin flip. You can't be like if you're in a fantasy league, you can't be relying on Zellweger when you don't even know if he's going to make it.
I have to rely on Zellweger, so he better freaking make it.
Just make a trade, Junior.
No,
Just make a trade.
no.
I'm right here.
I
can use him.
I believe, and this is gonna be controversial.
Do you own him?
No, but I think Zellweger is the same case as Lane Hudson, where he's a power play specialist, so he's gonna get PP1. The problem is his 5-on-5 points. I think Mintyukov is gonna get much more 5-on-5 points than Zellweger because, as Nick said, Mintyukov is gonna be a better all-around player. So I feel Zellweger is gonna be, his points are gonna be based on that power play, and as soon as that power play starts struggling, he's gonna be the first guy that they take out, and then Mintyukov will be the next guy up. So but I still don't feel like Zellweger is going to be a 70-point defenseman. I mean, it's not going there. I feel Zellweger, his points will be based on how he does on the power play. Michikov on the other side, I believe his points will be based on all-around play. And that'll be the difference between them two.
All right. Well, Zellweger could have also been listed here as our top prospects, but we just spoke about him, so we're not going to talk about him more. We already spoke about Leo Carlsson. We had a video on Beckett Seneke getting drafted with his shocked face that he went third overall, which is fun, so you guys should watch that. He's not going to make it to the
Over
team.
2,000 views.
Oh, really? The Seneke one?
On TikTok.
Oh, on TikTok, nice. Cutter Gauthier, I mean, Daily Faceoff has him projected as a top line left wing with Zegras on his right and Leo Carlsson in the middle. That's going to be pretty cool if it ends up being that.
But can you expect more than 40 points from Cutter Gauthier this year?
I personally do not, because I believe
So
that Cutter
I'm
Gauthier
with
is going to
you.
have
Yeah.
that sensational rookie season, which is still not going to be fantasy relevant, unfortunately. Maybe a little bit of a waiver wire guy, maybe a
He'll
little
be
bit of a
in
dynasty.
spurts, right? In spurts. He'll go on little runs here
Look,
and there.
dynasty-wise, I love Cutter Gauthier on this team. And I know I traded him away to you for Brendan Hagel,
For a championship.
but I won a championship out of it, and Hagel played a role in that. So I can't fault myself for trading away Cutter Gauthier, but it was a player that I really liked at the beginning, which is the reason why I drafted him anyways. We spoke about Zellweger a little bit. If he makes the team, you're expecting him to be a power play specialist.
And a third pairing defenseman.
Third pairing defenseman for this year at least.
Yeah.
If he doesn't make the team, well, he might get more than a cup of coffee,
Yeah.
but it won't be fantasy relevant for this year.
No.
Future-wise, still a great person to have in
Yeah.
Dynasty.
Anybody who plays PP1 is a good player to have.
We already spoke about Minchikov. We're not going to talk about him again. Tristan Luneau, somebody that I own, so maybe I shouldn't speak about him, but supposedly he's a highly transitional player that could bring the offense and still be responsible defensively. So between him and Lacombe, because I think they're both right-handed D, and they're both expected to be coming up soon, that's where I'm looking at who's maybe a little bit older. Steven Solberg is supposed to be a hard-hitting defensive
Solid,
defenseman.
robust.
Solid defensive. So in your hit leagues, that's something that you could look at there, but probably doesn't have a lot of points upside. I still drafted him in Lama, even though it's a points league, because
Hey,
you
you
never
never
know.
know.
You never know. And then Damien Clara is their goalie prospect, which they already have Dostal. So I think Dostal and Clara are going to be it going forward as 1A, 1B, but we'll see. Anybody have anything to talk about these prospects?
I just want to add, because you guys didn't give me a take on Zellweger and Mintyukov, but anyways, it doesn't matter.
You're gonna be wrong on your take, anyways.
No, I'm just spitting out facts here. Zellweger, average time on ice, 19 minutes. Average power play time on ice, 1:45 per game. Mintyukov, 18 minutes average time on ice, 156 on the power play.
What's your sample size?
Not much, 20
There you
games. Actually, Mintyukov more.
Minchukov played
Mintyukov-
46 games.
Mintyukov-
46 games, Zellweger less games, but played more.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, but Zellweger...
I'm just saying,
At the point that they
it's
got
tit for
eliminated,
tat.
No,
at the point that
because
they got
it's-
eliminated from the playoffs,
Yeah.
you don't
they got
care
eliminated from the playoffs of game one.
No, but
I mean, let's be honest.
the time Zellweger came in...
That's not how a coach thinks.
So the time they made Zellweger come in, they said in their heads, they're like, we need to give this guy ice time and power play time to see what we have.
We need to see what
What's
we
going
have.
to change next year?
What?
They're not going to give him
It's
play
a full season.
Now it's a full season.
Minchikov started there from the season, got injured, and the only reason Zellweger got in is because Minchikov got injured.
Well,
So,
that's
like I
already a
said-
flag up there, right?
like I said, I think Zellweger will get power play one, but as soon as they start struggling, Minchikov
But
will be
my
there
point with this was Mintyukov actually averaged more power play time.
because he was there more games.
So is this a 6'1" versus 5'9" debate, or is this
No,
just
this is just a small
no,
sample
okay.
size. You
Just-
can't,
just
you can't
checking
base
because you guys
anything.
know size matters.
Okay, Nick, finish it
Well,
off with Anaheim before
If you
I
ask,
suplex
you're- no,
Junior.
okay, I'm not going to stop it there. Final thoughts. Well, 12th best net offseason upgrades according to Dom Luszczyszyn's model. So they improved, and I think a lot of that has to do with Cutter Gauthier, actually. A although Dumoulin and Fabry are good players, losing Henrique, he was just a third line center anyways at that point. So I don't think they're really worried about that. It is time the Ducks take a step forward this year, but not quite good enough to enter the playoff race, according to
No.
Junior.
Junior.
No, what I meant, they're not competing for a playoff spot, but they need to be better. They need to show progress.
I think they just need to show who their young kids are. Play them. You're not going anywhere. Play them.
I think they're building their team from the back to the front. They have very good young defensive prospects, and their forward prospects are already there. So they just need to put it all together. But they're far away from competing for a playoff spot. So
I agree, and I'm not going to be surprised if I put them last in this division.
100%. Team.
When we do our
I don't think they're
projections.
that far ahead, guys.
Ooh.
That far behind. Sorry, I don't think they're competing for a playoff spot now. But McTavish should be. No, McTavish. Troy Terry is already established. Correct.
Yeah, but he's an established.
He's not consistent, but he's
he's
established.
a 60-point player.
Yeah, but because he's playing with rookie centers,
He's been on pace for 70 points.
right? If McTavish, once he establishes himself and can be 70 points, maybe 60 points. If Leo Carlson could be that point per game player and Troy Terry's on his wing, is Troy Terry not going to be closer to a point per game?
Right, but we did say that Leo
Trevor
Carlson
Zegras,
is several years away from that point per game. I think McTavish is several years away from that.
What I'm saying is that
of a Fever.
they're going to show progress. How many teams make the playoffs with not many point per game players?
Okay, but so you're saying that internal
I just think they're
growth-
closer than we think.
I think Chicago has internal growth as well, but they're still not close.
And I'll end it by saying this is I think they're closer than we think because some of their guys are most of their young guys are established. Those that once they get close to being established, they're going to complete them with established players in free agency or via trade or etc.
They've been rebuilding. I feel they've been rebuilding a lot longer than the Habs have,
And the Habs are ahead of them.
and I feel like the Habs are ahead of them. I'm not very confident so far, but I do see a lot of light at the end of the tunnel.
Team 2, the famous Calgary Flames, who we had as one of the winners in the drafts this year. So the Calgary Flames last year standings with 43 wins, 33 losses. So it wasn't about over 500. Last year's power play ranking 26th, 17.9%. Who's in? Anthony Manta, Kevin Ball, Jake Bean. Who's out? Andrew Manjapane, Oliver Lingdon, Jacob Markstrom, Noah Hanfin, Elias Lindholm, and Chris Tanev. Why are we laughing?
Because Anaheim actually on Dom's list was 6th best off-season, not 12th. 12th was the Dallas Stars, which we did last
Can I
week.
ask you a question?
That
Vince?
was a mistake you made?
No, I made
No?
the mistake.
Who made the list?
I prepared the project.
Who
this year.
prepared
This is why
this week?
Junior should not prepare the project. Okay,
Good
so-
times.
Player tiers. You guys already know our tier 1, tier 2.
Why did you say 12?
I quit. Because you wrote 12.
And on the Calgary Flames, we have absolutely no one hitting the tier 1 or tier 2. Tier 3, we have Nazem Kadri, who's going to hit between 70 and 79 points. And in the tier 4s, we have Jonathan Huberdeau, Sarangovic, Kuzmenko, and maybe Connor Zary.
Oh, whoa, no. Don't list all the
Oh,
players.
sorry. Yeah, okay. But let's
Name
start-
one player, talk about that
I
player.
just want people to know which players we're going to talk about. So, okay, Nazem Kadri. Is he a 70 to 79 point player?
Yes, absolutely. No questions asked. I think
Ooh.
Kadri
Talk
has
to me,
been
Nick.
he's been quietly a highly producing center. Maybe he's not a number one center overall, but the guy put up 75 points last year, and he has put 100-point paces before in his career. So, look, I don't think he's a 100-point player. However, I could see him in that late 60s, early 70s point pace. And especially if he continues playing with Huberdeau, I felt that they were starting to get a chemistry near the end that started looking very good. And we'll talk about Huberdeau later, but I think Kadri, being the number one center on this team, he'll hit that 70-point mark.
I agree. I think what happened was because of that extraordinary 87-point season in 71 games with Colorado, everyone just automatically assumed he was a product of the Colorado Avalanche powerhouse. But in Toronto, he produced as well, and not with crazy minutes, like produced 60 points or so, let's say on average. I think it's fair to assume as a number one center on the Calgary Flames, he can keep it up at a 70-point pace for sure.
Yeah, I agree. Listen, he's the one consistent player on that team. He'll play in every possible situation, power play, shorthanded, and stuff like that. So
I'll say Mikael Backlund is the one consistent player on that team, but fantasy wise, I'll agree with you. It's more Kadri.
Yeah, of course.
That could put up those points on this team.
Yeah. So I think it's no debate on here that Kadri is a tier 3 player.
Now, is he going to be better than Huberdeau again this year, or is Huberdeau going to continue to improve like he did on the second half of last season?
I don't know. So last year he was on pace for 52 points. He got 52 points in 81 games. Prior to that, 55 and 79.
49 points.
I have here 52 and 81.
Yeah, he played. He got 52
52
and 81.
I think naturally now he seems to be more comfortable in the second half. He seemed to have picked it up. If they keep that chemistry going, I think he can hit 60 points. I expect his power play points to go up a little bit more because he was always like a 30-point power play guy, and now he barely hit 20. Actually hit 19. So I expect that to go up a little bit. All in all, I mean, I don't see him going back to the Florida days and the points he was putting up with Florida, but I think he can hit the 60 to 69, perhaps even 70 when he's better surrounded. But for next year, fantasy-wise, 60 to 69 points is fair to assume. In a cap league, it's a little tough to swallow.
In a cap league, he is not a rosterable player that you want, simply because his salary is just
makes no sense.
exaggerated. They're paying him for that 118-point pace season that he had, or 91-point pace season, or 93. He's not going to put that up again. However, I do see him hitting our 70-point pace this year. And the reason I'm saying that is because, okay, it's year one, he got 57-point pace in Calgary. Year two, 53-point pace in Calgary. I feel like he's starting to settle, though. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's just name value here. But I think this player is better than what he's shown. And if he's surrounded consistently by players that could put the puck in the net, hence Sharangovich, Kuzmenko, I feel like it's possible for him to hit that 70 points again.
He'll have a better season than last year.
We thought for sure you were heading towards a listen there.
Ooh, he'll have a better season than last year. Last year, his shooting percentage was 8.4. He averages about 12.2 in his career. So I feel that those 12 goals can easily go into 20 to 22 goals. So right there, you hit the 60-point mark. Calgary is not a team that people think will make the playoffs next year, especially with the deals they've done, getting rid of Hannafin, getting rid of Markstrom. So I think there's a little bit less pressure. I think Huberdeau realized, or started to realize, he's not playing with Barkov, and that at the end of the day, he needs to change the way he plays. But if he hits 70, it's a win for Calgary. That's what I'm going to say. But I think he can easily hit between the 60 to 65 just because I feel the 12 goals is low. He's been a consistent 40 assist guy. Like if you look from 2014 to 2024, he's had a minimum of 40 assists except for a season where he played 31 games.
Yeah.
So you know he's going to hit those 40 assists. So he can hit the 2022 goals at 62 points.
So let's say that, and I'm just going to do the math a little bit here, but you said he had an 8.4 shooting percentage last year, which is the lowest, and you're absolutely right about that. However, let's say that he moved up to a 13% shooting percentage. Instead of 12 goals, he would have had 18.
That's still six
That's
goals.
60 points.
It's 6 points,
Yeah.
right? So it's just to kind of give a little bit of a
That's why
how the
I
math
think
works.
70 you're reaching. I think 60 to 69
Yeah,
you're
maybe
there.
I'm reaching. I kind of feel like he should be able to put up 50 assists at least. And if you grab those 18 goals, he's right there. He's 68 points, right?
A lot of it will have to do with the young guys, how they develop if they take another step forward too, right?
Well, I mentioned already Sharon Govich. So you guys want to move on with Sharon Govich?
Listen, Goju, if you want to go first.
Sure. 31 goals, 28 assists, 59 points in 82 games. Career high in goals and assists. Highest point per game pace in his career. He's only played 4 full seasons. Look, this is tough. I'm not sure what to think for him. I don't think he's a 30 goal scorer, to be honest. But I do think on this team he can be, until they start getting better and have better players to take that spot. We have him ranked at 60 to 69 points, but I see him being just under the 60 points.
Well, he had 59 points last year in 82 games played. He had 17 minutes of time on ice, which is the most in his career. This team seems to trust him. If he could continue a Huberto type chemistry, I think 60 points could be in the card. I mean, 59 and 60, like we're really talking about little
Yeah.
differences here. The only thing that scared me a little bit is his 17% shooting percentage, which is the reason I agree with you. He won't hit 30 goals necessarily, but last year was his first year in Calgary, so settling into the city, by the way, do you guys see the new arena?
Yeah.
Oh, it looks phenomenal.
Be
Looks
phenomenal.
phenomenal in Calgary, and it's about time. The Saddle Dome is
Yeah,
old,
exactly.
right? But anyways, okay. Sharon Govich, I agree with you. He might be borderline that 60 again.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I'm not gonna add more to that. I think, like Nick said, his 17% shooting average was a bit high. I don't see it going that high this year. But if Huberto and the other players up their game, he might throw in some assists here and there. So I see him in the low 60s. I don't see him getting into anywhere in the high 60s.
All right,
Well-
moving on.
I know one listener that's very curious about what we're going to say here, and that's listener Bamia, who should be flying to Greece right about the time that we post this. So, Andrei Kuzmenko. Kuzmenko played 72 games last year between Vancouver and Calgary. Put up a 52-point pace, 46 points actual. And when he got to Calgary, he kind of started putting them in again. What do we think that continues? I mean, he has had a 38-goal season in Vancouver already. Do we think he's closer to the 22 that he did last year or the 38 that he did in his first year?
Vince, you want to take that?
Yeah, listen, I feel he's... Listen. I feel with the trades they made, someone has to take on Mangiapane's goal. I don't see any young players taking on his role, and I don't see any young players right now taking on his minutes. So I think this is just a positive for Kuzmenko. He's proven he can score. It's just his shooting average is really high, like 24%, 18% last year. It's a difficult shooting average to keep up, right? But he's also only played 14 minutes. So you up that to 17 minutes a game. His shooting average might go lower, but his shots on goal might go higher, and his goals might be able to keep up in the 30 to 35.
Yeah, so he had a 24 percent shooting percentage with Calgary. With Vancouver was 12.7, so that doubled essentially, averaged out to 18. I think he's closer to 22 than he is 39. I do think he'll get more than 22 though in his contract year. This is also a contract year for Kuzmenko in a no pressure situation. All he has to worry about is himself, essentially. I think he can hit 25. I'm just not sure he hits 60, but on a contract year, I think he can push for 60. Yeah.
I think he'll be right there, the 60-point mark. And you guys said pretty much everything I needed to say here. If his time on ice improves, it's going to really help. Give me the pen back. His shooting percentage being 26 and 18, his career average is 22. But he's known as a shooter. He's known as a sniper, goal scorer, right? He just doesn't play very good defense, which is part of why Vancouver started losing interest in him in the Tocchet era of Vancouver, right? So we'll see. I mean, he has the ability to get to 60 points. I'll give that to you guys. And I think his shooting percentage being at 18 might not be high for him because of the fact that he's such a good sniper. So he's only 28, guys, so he's in his prime.
Yeah. So power play D-men, we have Rasmus Anderson and Mackenzie Weegar. What do you guys think of these defensemen on the power play?
I think Rasmus Anderson had a bit of an off year. He came off a 49-point season in 79 games and a 50-point season in 82 games. Last year in 2023, 2024, 39 points in 78 games. How much of that has to do with Mackenzie Weegar's push for points? I'm not sure. I think in the end, he has to be the guy for Calgary. But they rely on him for so much. He plays 23 and a half minutes a game, if not more. 2 minutes on the power play, 2 minutes shorthanded. He blocks 186 shots blocked last year. I think if they can not tax him so much, he can focus a bit more on the offense. I think it'll be a situational thing with the coaching and stuff. But I think it's safe to put him at a 40-point pace. But I wouldn't be shocked if he goes back to that 50-point pace. But he's a between 40 and 50-point guy. I don't expect more than that.
Well, I'll tell you the difference. The difference between the last 2 years of that 10 points that he lost is the power play. He played 47% of the power play last year, as opposed to 59% of the power play and 56% of the power play the 2 years previous. His power play points went 19, 21, down to 8. So that's the difference right there between the 40-point pace and the 50-point pace. So is that a result of Weegar coming onto the team and taking over power play 1? Or is it a result of him having an off year, so he lost power play 1? Can he take it back? I don't know. But in comparison, I think that's the big difference here. He needs that power play output.
Prior to last year, do you care to guess how many points Mackenzie Weegar had on a power play in any season he's played?
3.
4.
Because I have it in front of me.
It's 4. In 2020, 2021. Last year, he had 15.
No, 2020, 2021, he had 3 assists.
I have 3 assists.
I
also.
have 1 goal, 3 assists here
Well, your things are
on
wrong.
Fantrax.
No, I have power play points 3.
3.
Are you looking at power play points or
Power play
assists?
goals, power play assists. 1 plus 3 is 4. I mean,
I'm on frozen tools, so I don't know. Anyways,
something's
doesn't
wrong.
matter.
Anyway, okay, whatever.
It's
3.
1 point difference.
But he went from 3 or 4 to 15. Is that opportunity? Is that skill? What is that? I don't know.
It has everything to do with opportunity. With Florida, he was never the PP1 guy. If it wasn't Ekblad who was there, then it was Montour.
Yeah, he went up a minute of ice time after that, right? From that time to Calgary. But does it mean he's better than anyone else they have?
Let's call a spade a spade. In Calgary the year before, he had a 2.5 shooting percentage. The year before that, he had a 2.5 shooting percentage in Florida, and he still was playing 23 minutes of ice time. The year before that, he had 5.9 shooting percentage. Okay, so this year he had 9.6 shooting percentage and 20 goals for the first time in his career.
And 50 more shots.
So
I don't think he can repeat the 20 goals.
is
that's
he
for
repeating
sure.
20 goals again? Because to me, that's the part where he might lose a little bit, and Rasmus Anderson might gain a little bit.
I think he can easily hit 60 points this year because from the beginning he'll be a PP1 guy.
If he
remember
stays
from-
there.
Well-
I mean, his shooting percentage needs to stay that high for him to stay there.
Yeah, but he still... Remember, this is the points he got. He got more comfortable with the team last year. And like you said, Anderson is already overtaxed. So the power play all depends on not only Uyghur but all the other forwards and what they're going to be doing. So if we're thinking everybody's going to up their game, then you're expecting Uyghur to also get a few more points. So I wouldn't be shocked if he hits the 60 points this year.
So, in all fairness, I do own Rasmus Anderson. I do not own Mackenzie Uyghur, but I feel like it's up in the air who gets power play 1.
Yeah, but
And whoever does is the only one that...
it's going to be the hot hand, Nick.
Yeah, the hot hand,
This is
exactly.
what's going to go. Like, there's some teams that have their PP1 guys, and then there's other teams that will go with the hot hand. This is a situation where it's going to be the hot hand. If they see Uyghur has the hot hand, they're going to go with Uyghur.
Yeah.
If they see the power play is not
And he was
working-
hot last year.
Yeah. And if they see the power play is not working with Uyghur, then they'll throw in Anderson.
Let me throw something at you guys. They acquired him late in the season, Miromanov. In 20 games played last year, short sample size, nothing to lose. He still averaged 2 minutes of power play time. Do you think he gets a push on the power play?
So,
Or is it Anderson and Uyghur primarily? And then if that doesn't work, then it's Miromanov.
So Miramanov, I owned him in Lama. I traded him away for a 5th, a 6th, and a 6th. Anyways,
A what?
but the fact of the matter is that the reason I got him is because he's an offensive defenseman. He is entering his prime right now. I think that he has a chance to, if one of those two guys gets injured, he comes in. But other than that, the reason I traded him away is because I don't foresee him necessarily getting that kind of ice time that is going to be fantasy relevant.
Yeah.
But he has the ability to get that 30 points at least.
Anything else
Next year.
Anything else on the D-man?
No, let's go to the goalies.
The goalies. So this is we would say the biggest change in Calgary in goalies. They're finally giving Dustin Wolf his chance to be a number 1 goalie, and their safe backup, which is Dan Vildar. Dustin Wolf, 17 games played, .893 save percentage, goals against average 3.16, and he didn't play enough games to get the
Goal
goal
save
save
above expected.
against whatever. Vladar instead, a save percentage .882, goals against average 3.62, 5-on-5, 63rd in the league with 20 games played more. I'm not saying it.
Goals
What is
above, saved
it?
above the
GSAE.
expected.
GSAE.
Goals
Are you happy?
saved above
No, I'm going to say
expected.
GSAE. You happy? There.
I'm not saying anything.
63rd in the league. So basically, their goalies.
Their goalie tandem might be one of the worst in the league
Hold on.
Okay, so
right now.
I am cheering for Dustin Wolf.
Likewise, high five.
He is a young player who is undersized, and I really hope that he could prove everybody wrong and actually perform in the NHL. In a small sample size last year, he was better than Vladar. Having said that, though, it's a little bit scary. It's a little bit scary because he played 17 games, 893 save percentage, 3.16 goals against average. Dustin Wolf is being thrown to the wolves. They got rid of Markstrom.
I
They
like
didn't
what you did
replace
there.
Markstrom.
I like what you did there.
Thank you. In a way, I feel like it's sink or swim for him this year. And hopefully he could stay afloat because I think he has a bright future in the NHL. And I'd like to see him not lose completely his confidence in a year that might be a little bit rocky.
Neither goalie will be fantasy relevant in redraft leagues or anything that you need done next year. I think if you're relying on any of these two goalies for next year, you're in deep trouble. Dustin Wolf, long-term dynasty leagues, absolutely. He has all the tools despite the size, but he needs to have a better team in front of him for sure when he's that young. We spoke earlier about a veteran who can make a name for himself on a bad team. A young goalie, it's a different situation. So for me, they're irrelevant going into this season. Dustin Wolf going forward, though, should be a target in dynasty leagues.
There was a lot of turbulence in that position in
Ooh, I
Calgary
like that.
last year. So,
Turbulence.
like Junior said, I think Dustin Wolf is the future of this team. And when they're ready to compete, he'll probably be in his prime. And they did very well in drafting this year and the year after. So if they keep that up, I feel he'll be dynasty relevance in the future. Vladar, listen, he's just a backup who just had an awful season last year.
He's the reason
you
why.
were trying to trade him with value last year at one point. Earlier in the season, you were trying to trade him to me in Llama.
I don't remember. He probably had one good game. I'm like, let me try.
Prospects, Nick. Prospects.
You miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
That's right.
Remember
Exactly.
that, people.
By the way,
Remember
he's the
that.
reason. Vladar is the reason that I went out to get Connor Ingram. Because I have Vasilevsky, I have Sorokin. If one of those two guys get injured, it was Vladar.
I thought
And
this wasn't about your team.
It's always about my team. Connor Zary. Guys, last year was his rookie season. He played 63 games, and he was on pace for 44 points, which we said is actually a very good for a rookie in the NHL. He had averaged 15 minutes of time on ice, so we're not going to write home about that. He is a rookie. However, I still kind of don't see him ever turning into a top-line center. I do see him turning into a good middle six center. Probably second line.
I see him.
Not as early as next year.
I see him as a winger. I think they're going to keep him on the wing as of now. Get his points, get his experience, and if he does well enough, then maybe push him to the middle. But he's listen. He had a good rookie season. Year 2 is always tough, right? It's the sophomore slump they call it in the NHL. So it could be that happens to him. But he's getting the opportunities to play on the power play. He's getting the opportunities to play top 6 minutes. So he's one of the bright side of the prospects.
He came out of the gate flying last year. 10 points in 12 games. He played alongside Kadri. So I wonder if they reunite Kadri, Zary, and Huberdeau this year. If they do that, I can see a nice progression for sure.
I still think in the future, though, they're hoping that he is a center because that is his position in juniors. Can he be a winger? Sure. I mean, it's much easier to transition to a winger rather than center, like a winger going center. So I still think eventually, though, they're hoping that he becomes their second line center. We already spoke about Dustin Wolf.
Yep.
They had 2 great picks early in this draft. They had 3-4 great picks total in the first 5 rounds of this year's draft. That is Perek, Grindin, Basha, Battaglia as well. These are all absolutely phenomenal picks. We've already mentioned that they're one of our winners from the draft.
Solid draft. Solid.
So Calgary Flames fans, I know it's been a little bit tough, but at least you have some bright things coming in the future here. And you know what? A lot of fun, too. Dustin Wolf is going to be a lot of fun to watch this year. What do we think about Matt Coronado? He's the only other guy that's probably going to be on the team this year.
Yeah, 9 points in 34 games last year.
Jacob Petsy?
Oh, Pelletier, too. Yeah,
Pelletier,
Pelletier, yeah.
I think Coronado, I thought he would have taken a bigger step forward last year. I did own him in a league. I did trade him away in a trade for Buchnevich. But I think he just needs more experience. On a team with no pressure, he shouldn't have any excuses next year to get more than 9 points in 34 games. If he's not able to take that next step next year, then I'll start being worried. But right now, I think it's natural progression.
Vince?
Yeah, listen, both these players are still young. Whether it's Pelletier or Coronado, I think they're both young. They just need some experience. Is Calgary going to be able to give them that experience? I mean, you signed Anthony Manta. You signed all these, where do these guys all fit
I was
in your
about to say.
lineup? Right? So, but listen, maybe...
There's a chance Coronado doesn't play at all this year.
There's a chance Coronado and Pelletier don't play at all, and they'll develop in the AHL, which is not a bad situation either for them, right? So, yeah, I mean, I don't think they're fantasy relevant at all. Dynasty, yes, I would still hold on to them if I have them in Dynasty. Give them a few more years just to see how things go.
All right. Let's move on to our final thoughts, unless somebody else has someone else to talk about.
No, I'm done.
No, I'm good with Calgary.
Okay. I'm gonna take a guess that this is right, but 27th in Dom's model.
It is right. It was wrong, and I corrected it while you guys were talking. Boom. Hey, people make mistakes.
Yeah, you're making a few.
I corrected it before you guys even knew. So
I
technically,
hope you corrected the other ones too.
we're gonna see when we get there.
Look, the teardown is on. It's part of the rebuilding process, but I kind of feel like it's a little bit of a retool as well. You know, they brought in guys, Sharangovich, Kuzmenko, that could possibly take some roster spots away from those young guys. If it was a full rebuild, I kind of feel like they would have.
But I do
brought in
think
more, but-
Kuzmenko is going to be more of a trade asset this year than he was a long-term plan for them.
They brought in Mantha as well. Jake Bean could be interesting. Anyways, it's going to be a fun team to watch. I always like watching Calgary play.
I think they're hoping for a hot start, and then during the season battle for one of those wild card spots. But
Well-
I don't see them unless their goaltending really changes. I don't see them
Yeah.
making the playoffs.
In the Battle of Alberta, there's another team that we're going to get started on right here that is 1 goal away from forcing overtime in Game 7
Of the
of
Stanley,
the Stanley Cup Finals. So the Edmonton Oilers won 49 games, lost 33. We don't talk about overtime losses in this podcast. Last year's power play ranking, 4th. How can you not be 4th? With
Shocker.
David and Draisaitl leading the way. Who's in? Well, they've added Victor Arvidsson. They've added Jeff Skinner. They've added Matthew Savoie. And they lost Fogley. They've lost Jack Campbell. Thank God. And they've lost Ryan
Praise the
McLeod.
Lord.
Tier players, guys, how much is there to talk about? Connor freaking McDavid.
Like, do we really have to spend time on the first two? Like, there's no.
Well,
we don't
does he
need to
hit
spend-
100 assists next year, Connor McDavid? Or does he hit
Oh my
maybe more
God.
goals?
Oh my God! So just to put everything into perspective here, we have a lot of Toronto Maple Leaf fans that are friends of ours,
Toronto.
and they make up almost half of the Lama League. So they were saying, what's more impressive, 70 goals or 100 assists?
Yeah.
And I mean,
Doesn't matter. Because
Doesn't
he
matter,
didn't
they made
hit
the finals.
70 he didn't hit 70 goals.
Yeah, he hit 69 goals, Matt.
he is what's the difference? Anyways, Connor McDavid, guys, obviously number 1 player in the league, hands down.
Leon Draisaitl number 2.
Leon
or
Draisaitl
number
is
3.
probably number 2 in the league. So I mean, this team is really going nowhere without those two guys, and they're fun guys to watch. They've surrounded these guys with people that could put in points, but those are our 2 players right now, I think, that stay in our tier 1.
Forever.
We'll be like outed as a fantasy hockey podcast if we didn't have these guys in our tier 1 projections, right?
Okay, but realistically speaking, though, like he hit 100 assists last year, obviously a career high. The year before, he had 89. 32 goals, 100 assists. Are we seeing it more balancing out to maybe 40 goals, 90 assists? Because most leagues
goals.
these days have 2 points per goal, right? Not that it really matters when you have McDavid.
At 100 assists.
Guys,
He's hitting 50 goals this year.
let me just
50
mention.
goals.
Yeah,
Whoa.
he's hitting
So
50
not
goals this
100
year.
assists.
Let me
Unless
talk
you
to you-
think he's going to get 150 points.
Listen,
Last 3 years,
goal.
123 points, 153 points, 132 points.
What tells you you can't hit 100?
4 consecutive seasons, 100 points or plus.
Well,
or more.
what tells you you can't hit 100?
And the one time he missed the 100-point mark, it was 97 points in 2019, other than his
Well,
rookie season.
the year he had 150 points, he had 71 power play points.
Yeah, but their
71 power play
Nick,
points, career
their
high.
power play was ranked.
His shooting percentage was 18.2. He had 64
Yeah, but
goals. I don't see him getting 64
What's going to
goals.
change? Their power play is not going to be ranked less than 4th this year.
It's McJesus,
we'll
guys.
see. We'll see if Bouchard could keep up a point per game pace.
McJesus.
Even if it's not Bouchard, the
Guys, I'm not saying anything bad about
people-
McDavid.
the people
I don't know why you're coming
Where's
at me.
Tassel? Where's
I'm
Tassel
I'm
to
just
get him?
asking you if he's going to get more goals this year and a little less assists. That's all.
50 goals and he easily could get 100 assists.
I don't
to
think
make
he hits 100
150
assists
points.
next year. I'll be
Nobody
honest.
trade this guy.
I don't think he hits
exactly.
100 assists. That's all I was saying.
Okay, so we made our arguments for Connor McDavid. And
He's
Board
27
bet.
he's-
Board bet. He's not hitting 100 assists.
Guys, he's 27 years old. He's like
yeah,
entering his
yeah,
prime.
Guys,
Exactly.
we're debating whether he's going to hit 100 assists. Do you realize what that means?
It's insanity.
So
I'm going to get so much hate for that, by the way.
Let's just go. Let's just go.
That was our point.
to our tier 3, Nick. 70 to 79 points. We have.
No, okay. Let's talk about Draisaitl just a little bit because there was
Tell me.
there was a little bit of debate, right, in Edmonton land about Draisaitl because his contract situation is coming up.
Yes.
Listen,
1 year left at 8.5.
Draisaitl was right now. He was we'll say 28 points, 27 points behind McDavid.
Right.
Next year, I see him closer to just 10 points behind McDavid, just because of the way they surrounded him.
So 140 points.
So Draisaitl, they gave him two wingers who can actually help him. And Arvidsson, which I think is the biggest signing they did, because I think Arvidsson is a phenomenal role player on that line. And then if Jeff Skinner can turn into the player he was, well, even with Buffalo, what a shit team, he was still putting up points.
I mean, shit team. He's still playing with Tage Thompson and Alex
Never played a playoff game.
No,
Never played.
But still,
Gee, and you went to acquire him. I don't know. You went to sign him. I don't know.
we're gonna talk about those two players
Yeah, we'll
anyways.
get there.
But I feel with those players next to him, Draisaitl will be in closer proximity in points to McDavid than he was this year.
Like, I don't like taking a superstar and assuming he's going to get more points because he's getting two average players next to him. To me, Arvidsson and Skinner are average players. If he keeps up his power play production, which is almost 40 points, and the year before was 62 points, that's what's going to bring him up. He went from 128 to 106 last year. I think he could flirt with the 120, but to say he'll get to 140, that's a push.
Okay.
Basically, going on the back of Arvidsson and Skinner, for me, anyway.
Talking about the back of Arvidsson and Skinner, you know Arvidsson, his last time he's played a full season was?
A long time, because I had him for a long time.
Never.
2022, 2023, he played 77 games.
I know, but that was the one time. He played 18 last year.
Yeah, but
He played 66 2 years ago. He played 53 years ago. Well, COVID season, right, as well. But the guy is a little bit of a loose leaf paper,
Yeah.
and he needs to stay healthy in order to help out that team. So I agree with you. I think he's not an 70-point player, but playing next to McDavid, he might reach that 68 points again, 68-point pace at least, staying healthy.
Well, to your point, we have him ranked in the tier 4, 60 to 69 points.
Sorry,
So
I know
you
I
kinda
probably skipped
skipped.
a little bit, but we spoke about Jeff Skinner as well.
Yeah.
And we have Jeff Skinner also in that team.
And Arvidsson at tier 4, 60 to 69 points. Just because I knew you guys were a little bit higher on them than I was, I don't think Jeff Skinner hits 60 points, personally, but
Don't forget, Jeff Skinner is a goal-scoring machine.
well, not last year.
He had 24 last year, right? The year before that, he had 35. The year before that, 33. Like, this guy is a perennial 30-goal scorer. So I do think that Jeff Skinner could hit that 30 goals again. I just don't think he'll hit 85-point pace that he did in 2022, 2023. So I still see him between that 60 and 70-point pace, but 30 goals. So if that's valuable for your fantasy league,
I look, last year he had 17 goals in the first half of the season and only 7 in the second half at 32 years old.
yeah, but last year was a bad year.
It didn't start bad. It ended bad.
Okay, talk about 2022-23 then. What was that like?
But what I'm saying is that the coach lost trust in him. His power play time went down. He's not going to be on the first power play in Edmonton. Why are
Who's
they
not
gonna,
going to be on the first
Why is
power
Jeff
play?
Skinner going to be
Jeff
on the
Skinner.
first power
No.
play?
He'll be on the second.
They're never going to play. They're never going to play.
I don't know. I think that's a little bit of projection there.
I'm big time on Jeff Skinner's demise right now. He's slowly going downhill.
And Draisaitl, just to last year played with Kane, Brown, Fogle, McLeod. Like,
That's bad.
you can't tell me that Skinner and Arvidsson are not an upgrade on those players.
We'll see.
Oh man, can't wait. Can't wait for the
I
first.
think- I know,
because
no,
you
no,
have
this is
you,
a
no,
board bet.
you have to take into account
This is a
that
board bet.
Arvidsson is not healthy.
This is a board bet. Forget
Draisaitl, no, but if Draisaitl plays with him for 25 games and not 80 games, then it's the same amount. It's not worth it.
Jeff Skinner, how many goals next year?
Ooh, let me let me go.
Okay, Jeff Skinner, how many goals? That you said he's not hitting 30. So where are you at?
20.
20 goal Jeff Skinner. Jesus. Oh my God, we're adding.
We're
this-
doing a
this-
range or
oh,
just.
I need to
You
see
guys
where
are
Vince is
freaking
at.
me out here. Oh, I just got a message from up above.
Oh,
What's happening? I'm too loud. Please keep it down.
honestly,
Oh, on your way up.
35 to 40.
Wow.
I give Skinner 35 to 40.
So I'll give you 20 to 25.
So wait. So
20
wait.
to 25.
Sure. If you think Arvidsson will have a bigger impact, how many do you think Arvidsson's going to get?
not goals, assist Arvidsson. Arvidsson will get
Arvidsson's
points.
a goal scorer more than an assist guy, no?
And at the end of the day, what you were saying about the power play, Junior, is this: they had to keep those guys on for 2 minutes or 1:40 because they had nobody to go on.
Yeah, but
The only player
you put
you-
Jeff Skinner and Arvidsson together on the power play too, it still sucks.
You're keeping McDavid and Draisaitl there for
2 minutes.
yeah, but you're taking out Hyman and you're taking out Nugent Hopkins for 1 minute.
After a minute 45 seconds.
No, they kept
That's
them-
what they've been doing. Then.
Yes, because if you take Hyman off, you're
Why
putting
would
in-
you take a 50 goal
I'm
scorer
just
off
telling
the
you,
first
if you
power
take
play?
Hyman off, they were putting Fogle last year. You take the other guy off, they're putting Evander Kane. You can't tell me that Arvidsson and Skinner are not better choices than
I'll
those
be
two.
shocked if Fogle saw more than
Guys,
10
go.
seconds on the power play.
I'll
last
take
year.
27 to 32, even though the ranges don't really make sense because you're really low and you're really high. And if it's in between those, it doesn't count. So
We all lose.
we all lose. Exactly. So 27 to 32 goals, Nick, 35 to 40, Vince, and 20 to 25, Junior. That's our board bet.
Okay, so since we jumped,
We should really write our board bets,
Yeah.
by the way, on the wall.
I have them all. Yeah, we should. Yeah, whatever.
like
So-
some sort of whiteboard or
so
something.
let's talk about that. We completely skipped the tier 3 players. So let's talk about tier 3.
well, we skipped tier 2 because they don't have any.
Yeah, exactly. So tier 3, Zach Hyman. Are we hitting 50 goals with Zach Hyman again this year?
Yes.
No. Oh my God! This team is going to be all our board bets. All our board bets.
No, he'll hit like 45. He'll hit about 45, I think, 40 to 45.
Yeah, I see him going back down to 35. I think that should be around his range, but still around 80 points. Just because of
His shooting percentage went up 5%, but I don't think that's enough to go down to 30.
I see him in the round of not down 30 for sure. I see him in the round of 40, 40. But like I said, I think he's gonna lose power play time to Skinner and Arvidsson. So I don't think he'll get those extra goals on that power play. So I think
what a great player.
I think 40 is. Was this the Toronto Maple Leafs biggest mistake?
Probably.
I think so.
Probably.
I think so. Because
I think
not
so.
because of the 50 goals. I'm not
No,
like Toronto Maple Leafs fans are going to be like, "Oh, he hit 50 goals once. You think he's the biggest mistake?" No, he's a lunch pail guy. He's a guy that puts his hard hat on, goes to those dirty areas, and stays there.
yeah.
You know, like I find he is what Bertuzzi wishes he was.
Yeah.
No, I'll tell you what the real mistake was. They thought $5.5 million a year was too much.
Yeah, that's crazy talk.
Are
That's
you
crazy
kidding
talk.
me? Are you kidding me?
I mean, I get it. In Toronto, he only had 21 goals, like his best year.
Yeah, but 37 points
But-
in 51 games. That's the $5 million player.
Yeah.
That was it. And then on his final year, 33 and 43 games.
Look, Edmonton has made their share of mistakes.
Yeah.
Um, their new GM might be one of them.
Yeah. We'll find out.
Stan
Stupid
Bowman?
man, ignorant. Anyways,
Let's not get off
let's
topic.
not get political.
It's not fantasy relevant, but
Yeah.
I think we're remiss if we don't mention at least
No,
that Stan
of course.
Bowman got hired
Yeah.
by them, and they seem to be a team that doesn't care about what other people think, right?
Yeah.
Evander Kane with his ex
Yeah,
girlfriend,
but that was a bit iffy because you saw there
Wow.
was a lot of
she
backstory
didn't
to
seem
it.
to.
Yeah,
He was
exactly.
also bankrupt and going through legal battles with
because-
gambling.
Yeah, but there's all kinds of players that in the NHL.
True.
All right, so Zach Hyman's gonna hit 40 goals at least. We all agree, or no? You think less than
I
40?
think 35, 36.
I think 40. He could
Tier
hit 40.
3, we also have
Nuge.
Ryan Nugent Hopkins between 70 and 79 points. Does he fall a little bit with the new acquisitions? Does he?
Nugent Hopkins
Keep
got
the pace.
104 points in 2022, 2023.
Yeah, talk about a sell high candidate.
That's crazy.
yeah.
Listen, I feel
Well,
he's,
Vince, to your point, you had 15 goals and 38 assists on the power play.
Yeah. So I feel he's going to be one who's going to not because he only got 6-7 points anyways last year, but I feel he'll be the one that's going to lose out with the new acquisitions they got. I think him and Hyman are going to be the ones that are going to lose out a bit on the new acquisitions. But I still think he's a good enough player, and that power play is so potent that he'll hit minimum that 60 point.
I think he's a part of that big three at offense, right? There's McDavid, there's Draisaitl, and then there's the guy that's been there forever, which is RNH. Don't get me wrong, Hyman is up there. I just mean like who's been there forever.
Yeah.
Right? So he went through all of these horrible years in Edmonton before they got McDavid. And now, just now, they're starting to get somewhere. Like, this guy has been in the league 13 years with Edmonton. You know what I mean? And now they're starting to become something. Last year. But
He's a nice example, just to go back to that Leo Carlson debate of... And I think Leo Carlson offensively is better than Nugent Hopkins, but when Nugent Hopkins was drafted, I think people anticipated a point per game player. After 13 years, it's safe to say he's not quite a point per game player.
No,
so the hype is always there when they're young. You just have to see how it plays out. But obviously, you put a McDavid and a Draisaitl with him, his points are going to boost.
But he only hit over 80 points once in his career.
Yeah.
Actually, over 68 points, 69 points only once in his career.
All right, so to the hot topic.
No, it's your hot topic.
Evan Bouchard. We have him ranked at 70 to 79 points, which is just under a point per game.
This is our third team.
Yes.
Well, I haven't mentioned once, is this a number one defenseman?
Well, because there weren't any in Calgary and Anaheim, to be fair. Not even debatable.
All right. Is Evan Bouchard a number one defenseman?
A legitimate number one defenseman to my standards, not quite yet. But I do think he'll get there.
At least you said that.
I said that the last time too, but, people choose. Look, do I think he'll be a point per game player this year? I don't think so. I think he'll drop a little bit, not by much. I think I see him more in the 70-point range. And I'll tell you what I like the most is that he's played 81, 82, and 81 games in the last 3 seasons. What I don't like so much is 43 points, 40 points, and then suddenly jump to 82. That's a 40-point jump. That's a double the points. Do I think he could put up a lot of points? Yes. Do I think he could put up a point per game? I think he'll be a little less. I think with time, maybe, but I don't think he's there just yet. Anyways, I just think it's too big of a jump to automatically assume he's going to be again a point per game player. I see him close to the 70-point range, to be fair, going into the season. I do think I wouldn't be surprised if he gets a point per game, but I see him more to 70 to 79 points going in. And, that's his shooting percentage also went up a little more than usual. And now we're saying we're adding pieces. I don't know. Well, I just see it going down a little bit. I think the jump was too big for me to just automatically assume he's going to stay consistent at a point per game.
Let me tell you what the difference was.
Let me talk to you.
He played 77% of the power play this year. He averaged 3.27 time on ice on the power play. In the previous 2 years, he was averaging 2 minutes and 1.2 minutes. So he had 35 points on the power play this year. That's huge. His career high before that was 13. But another part I'll mention is the fact that, Dauber's 200 game mark?
Mm-hmm.
He hit it last year. So this might be who he is. A 75, in my opinion, 75 to 80 point power play one defenseman.
Is it not fair, though, before labeling him officially something great, for him to prove that he can do it for 2 consecutive years at least?
Well, that's why I'm saying 75 to 80 and not saying 80 to 85 or 85 to 90. But 70 to 75, sorry, where was I at? 70, 75? No, 75 to 80. 75 to 80, I believe is doable again.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Look, 70 to
Especially if
79.
he's
That's
getting-
where we have him ranked.
77% of the power play time with McDavid, with Draisaitl, with Hyman, potentially RNH or Jeff Skinner.
I'll tell you what, if he does a point per game again next year, for me, he'll probably be labeled a number one defenseman.
Oh, I need to see.
But he's got to do it again.
You label Hedman as number one defenseman.
Yes, but there's criteria. It's not just points.
I
Vince.
understand, but points is one of the criteria.
If you can be a point per game defenseman consistently, you're automatically number one
Okay.
defenseman, despite shorthanded, despite being relied upon on everything
Hedman
else.
hit 85 points once.
Yes, but Hedman,
I'm just saying, once. And we're counting him as a number one defense, which I believe he is. And he hit it in his 30s when he was 29, I think. Hedman hit 85 points.
Asterix. He does own Bouchard.
No, I don't.
no, he traded him.
I traded for Demidov for the second overall pick.
Okay, but to this day, if you take Bouchard or Hedman in his prime, NHL teams are going to choose Hedman. In fantasy, you're choosing Bouchard hands down, no questions asked. Hedman in his prime, Bouchard in his prime, you're probably taking Hedman
but
because he does
but
everything and he puts 65
Yeah, but
points up a
you
a
can't-
season.
Okay, my thing is you can't compare that because Bouchard's not in his prime.
But Bouchard will
24
never
years
be what
old is-
Hedman is to his
You
team.
don't know that. Hedman was
Vince,
there.
he's not even. He's 20 seconds shorthanded.
He's
a
20
season. He's not being
Junior.
relied upon to play in all.
Hedman. 20 points, 26 points.
But he
22
doesn't need
points.
to do-
Stop. 20 points, 55 points, 38 points. That's his first 2, 4, 6, his first 6 seasons.
Yeah, but how many games played? It's point per game
74,
pace.
79, 61, 44,
He's a 60-point
75.
defenseman. He's a 60-point
I
defenseman.
understand, but it's the first 6 years he didn't hit 82 points.
I
Then-
wasn't gonna label him as a first number one defenseman in the league in the first 6 seasons. I'm just saying.
I understand.
So,
but
no.
we're just saying Bouchard is ahead of the game when it comes to Hedman.
Yes, but you guys stop saying that. I'm telling you, he's gonna get there. He's just not there. That's it. It's over.
I think that
He's not there yet. That's all.
I think nothing changes on their power play. They still have McJesus. They still have Draisaitl. Both those guys are going to get over 100 points per game. Over 100 points next year. Someone needs to assist those goals. Bouchard will be 70% of those assists just because of he plays on the power play one, just like last year. And he's just going to get better as the years go on because he's going to develop. And now he is officially their number one defenseman. There's no Nurse behind him. There's nobody in that defense that can even compete with Bouchard there.
He is their number
So-
one defenseman.
So there you
And
go.
if he keeps putting up a point per game, he doesn't need to play all situations. That was my point.
No, I'm just...
Hedman doesn't put a point per game, so he needs to play all situations. And he does it effectively. That was it.
I think he's going to keep on hitting that. As long as Draisaitl, McDavid stay healthy, he's going to hit that over 80 points.
So he's a product of them?
Well, no, he's just... How can he be a product of is Hedman a product of Kucherov, Stamkos, in Le Cavalier and Saint Louis? You can't... You're not a
None
product.
of those players are
You-
McDavid and Draisaitl.
You put Nurse as a number. You put Nurse in Bouchard's place. Does Nurse give Bouchard points?
No.
So there you go. So
No,
he's
but
not
the
a
way
product.
you said if he keeps playing with McDavid and Draisaitl, he's going to keep putting up those
Well,
points.
he will because he's power play one.
That's agreed, but then does that mean it's because of them?
But they're top three. They're two of the top 3 players in the league. How? But you can't just put anybody there. Like I iterate. Nurse was there before. Nurse was supposed to be the guy, and he's got dethroned quickly.
Oh yeah, I mean,
So
Bouchard is head and
still
heels
need
over
to,
here.
You still need to have the talent to play with those guys. You can't
Of course.
just throw anybody in. So he has. He's
has it.
proven he has. So I think he's going to be a tier 2 player, an 80 to 90 point player for sure.
All right. Well, I stayed out of that one, and no, I
No, but you
I
did
already
say
said I said
75 to
75 to 80
80
points.
Yeah, 75. But
that's
guys,
my
at the end of the day, we're talking about a 10-point difference. All I said is 70 to 79.
yeah. Look,
70 points, I'm assuming. That's all.
regardless,
pulling
Bouchard
hairs
is
over
in a
10 points.
great fantasy-wise. Bouchard is in an absolutely spectacular situation. Would I have traded a top 2 pick for him? I would have if I was a team that's trying to compete because he's young enough that he's going to be on my team forever, and he's playing. The only fear I have is that he prices himself out of Edmonton because if they have to pay Draisaitl, they have to pay McDavid. Eventually, Bouchard is going to need a raise as well.
They can't get rid of Nurse because McDavid, he got that contract.
And Bouchard is contract year with arbitration.
Right. So, anyways, that's the only thing that I'll say. If he's not with those players, I still think he's going to be a good fantasy producing player. But we'll wait and see. I think that Edmonton chooses to keep him, but crazier things have been done. Stuart Skinner is the number one goalie on this team. Is there any doubt?
Who's behind him?
All right. 905 save percentage, 2.62 goals against average. He actually had a phenomenal year. Played 59 games. He was 32nd in the league in goals saved above expected, which is average. I know there's 32 teams in the league, but there's 2 goalies per team, so I'm saying average. Calvin Pickard is his backup. 949 save percentage.
Better numbers.
2.45 goals against average. Played 23 games. Not a large sample size. 38th in goals save above expected.
I don't think I have nothing to say about these goalies. It is what it is. He could let in 4 goals, they'll score 6.
I don't think Skinner plays 59 games again. He has a great salary, by the way.
2.6.
You think Picard can handle the rest of the games?
No. No,
I
it's
think that's the one improvement there.
Look, I traded for Skinner in LPHL, and the reason why, or I picked up Skinner in LPHL.
You had him for
I had
all
him.
of last year.
He's cheap.
Mm-hmm.
He's cheap, and he puts up wins. So if you're, and his salary is absolutely amazing. I know I just said cheap, but still, his draft position wasn't high either. So it's a player that I could have gotten. I think this year redraft leagues he's going to go higher than when I picked him up. Jack Campbell obviously was not the answer. He's gone.
Mm-hmm.
Stuart Skinner has the net in Edmonton.
I think the reason Pickard didn't play as many games last year was because they did start with Campbell as a number 2 and number 1, whatever. They were fluctuating. So I do see Pickard playing closer to 30 games.
All right, top prospects. This is going to be fast.
Not many.
They traded for Matthew Savoie, who automatically becomes their number 1 prospect.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't necessarily lose favor in Buffalo, but I feel like his draft stock diminished a little bit, and they had a lot of other players that were similar to Matthew Savoie in Buffalo. Whereas when we're talking about Edmonton, Matthew Savoie automatically becomes their number 1 prospect. So this is a great trade by Edmonton. I think it's still a very good trade by Buffalo because they needed a guy like McLeod.
Mm-hmm.
McLeod is a good NHL player. And they could have traded away from a position of strength. Okay, a lot of people were comparing this trade, Forsberg, with Erat. I don't think it's at that level here. Sam O'Reilly, they drafted this year, 32nd overall. Great kid out of Toronto, who our friend Jamie actually met and knows the family. And Emil Vini, who I won't lie to you guys, I
He's a goalie. He was drafted
Don't
in
know
the
much
second
about
round.
He could possibly be a starting goalie in the NHL.
do we think Matthew Savoie gets a chance this year to play in the NHL?
Not with the additions they made.
Okay. All right.
Maybe as a call-up. He's not
someone
in
gets
juniors,
injured?
right? He's in the AHL.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe he might get a few games.
Yeah.
And final thoughts and predictions. Look, in Dom's model, they were 16th best off-season. And the reason being is Arvidsson and Skinner have a lot of question marks and inconsistencies, whether it's health or
He was in the
gameplay.
WHL last year.
WHL?
No, actually, sorry. He finished the year with the Rochester Americans.
That's it.
So that's right. He is AHL this year.
They have Olivier Rodrigue and him now in AHL. So I'm curious to see who gets the first call-up. So Dom's model, they were 16th best offseason based off basically the question marks surrounding Arvidsson and Skinner and the consistencies that come with it, which basically resulted in the Needle staying stagnant there at 16, middle of the pack.
These 2 signings, it's basically you either hit a home run or you strike
Right.
out.
Yeah.
There's no in between. There's no single. There's no double. It's either you hit a home run or you strike out. So
But
it'll be
there's
fun to see.
Low, I think it's a low risk too because Fogley and whoever else they lost weren't crazy.
Exactly.
So that they miss, I don't think it's a big
No.
deal. They're still a playoff team.
Exactly.
Anything else to say about Edmonton?
That's it. Moving on to the Los Angeles Kings. 44 wins and 38 losses. 12th power play with a 22.6% success rate. Who's in? Well, Warren Fogley, who we just spoke about. Tanner Janot, Joel Edmondson, and Darcy Kemper. Who's out? Pierre-Luc Dubois in that massive contract. Matt Roy, Victor Arvidsson, and Cam Talbot. They essentially traded pieces here, Edmonton and LA. Player tiers. Tier 1, nobody. Tier 2, 80 to 90 points, nobody. Tier 3, 70 to 79 points, we have Adrian Kempe. Fair?
Yes. I just think I don't think LA is as good as people think they are. I think Kopitar will take a step back. But it all depends who. You see, Kopitar will take a slow step back, but you're hoping Byfield will take a step forward or 2 steps forward. So I think Kempe will still be in that range. I don't think he'll hit the 75 points. I think he'll be more of a 65 to low 70s.
So tier 4 potentially.
Yeah, I think tier 4, high tier 4 would be my guess on Adrian Kempe.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, he hit 80 points once, 80-point pace once, in his career. And that was last year. Before that, he was usually on a 57 to 60-something point pace. He's a very good player. I think if he continues power play 1 time, which he has, he got a lot of points on the power play last year. He got 27 points on the power play last year, 20 the year before that, 16 the year before that, 14 the year before that. Like he seems to have been progressing on the power play more and more. Los Angeles currently has Kempe on the same line as Kopitar, and I think that's been pretty much the case. Especially Daily Faceoff is saying that Byfield, Kopitar, and Kempe are going to be together. I actually feel Byfield is going to get the second line center role this year.
That's what I feel too.
I think Kempe is what he is. He's not going to get better. He is 27 years old. He's in his prime, and he's going to be a 70 point to 79, let's say, tier player.
28 goals, 47 assists last year. The year before, 41 goals. The year prior to that, 35. I think he's a 30-goal scorer. His shooting percentage dropped 5% last year. He got more assists than he did goals. If the power play could stay as efficient as they were, like we said, they were ranked 12th in the league. If not get better with Byfield progressing, I think he could hit that 70-point mark.
All right. I think that's fair for Kempe.
Moving on to Kevin Fiala, who we also have ranked in the 70 to 79 point mark. Where do we feel about this? LA is known for a team that doesn't score much, yet here we are ranking a couple of players in 70 to 79, or at least I am. What do we make of Kevin Fiala here?
I mean, look, Fiala has the last 3 years been on a point pace of 85, 86, and 73. This is a player that I think has a lot of talent, to my chagrin, because Jamie owns him. Listener Jamie, if you're listening, I don't like you. But the fact is that he is a player that has... he could be a 30-goal scorer. I mean, that's the way I see him. He shoots a lot. 262 shots on net 3 years ago, 208 2 years ago, 225 last year. His shooting percentage is always around that 12-point mark, right? 12%. So I like him as a good player. I don't know if he's going to progress more than he is right now. 28 years old, he's in his prime. I think he is who he is. A player that could hit possibly 30 goals and 70 points. 75 points.
Yeah, I feel he lives on the power play. Like last year, you got 30 points on the power play out of the 73. So I don't think that will change. I just think his points might go a little higher just because I do feel like you were saying that Byfield will be the number 2 centerman on this team. So if we're expecting a progression from Byfield, then Fiala will just hop on that progression with him. So he could be an 80 points. He could be an 80-point player, but it all depends on the progression Byfield's going to make this year.
Talking about somebody that used to be an 80-point player,
Talk to me.
Anze Kopitar, 36 years old.
Love that player.
Don't
Don't
he's
love his
not what he
age.
used to be.
Don't love his age, but love that player.
He's not what he used to be, but 71-point pace last year is it's nothing to sneeze at.
Well, look, I think until he stops producing at that rate, you kind of have to assume he's going to hit it. We talk about it almost weekly now. We always expect the Boston Bruins to take a dip, and they never dip. We always expect Bergeron and Marchand to dip. They never dip. Like, I think I was reluctant to put him to 70, 79 points, but I just couldn't help myself and say, look, he's going to be half a year older. Does that really make a difference? Maybe a little bit, but until I see it, I won't believe it. So for me, he's still a 70-point guy.
It's because you haven't hit 35 yet.
I did hit 35 yet. I did hit. I am 35.
All right, our last tier 4 player. We kind of spoke about him already, but I don't know if you guys want anything to add about Quinton Byfield. He's in our 60 to 69 point range for this year.
Yeah, I think that's the progression you want him to make this year. Especially, I feel he'll take. I don't believe Kopitar can keep on playing 20-minute per games, 20-minute game like minutes per game. So I feel Byfield will get some of that time, and in his progression, getting more comfortable playing in the NHL, using his body, filling out. I think he can easily become, especially for next year, in that point range.
I think it'll be a disappointment if he doesn't pace for 60 points.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, absolutely. He had 56-point pace last year. He actually got 55. So we're talking about a player that should be hitting that. I mean, he's about to hit his 200 games played.
Yeah.
So Dauber says it all the time. 200 game plays is one of the tiers that he sees people really progress. So I think 65 points is definitely in the cards for Byfield next year. Second line center with Fiala there.
That would be nice.
Yeah, that's what I think. All right, power play guys. Drew Doughty's he's still around.
Still around.
Still around.
Still a 40-point defenseman.
Somehow power play won.
Number 1 defenseman, Junior.
Not anymore. Not anymore.
Thank you for reminding me. By
No
the way.
problem, Nick. I'm here for you.
Although he does play all situations, doesn't put up enough points for me anyway, to my criteria. But he used to be.
He put 50. He put up 50 points.
I know, but if you don't put up a point per game, then if you're gonna play all situations, my criteria for absolute number 1 defenseman is at least 60 points.
Guys, he has averaged 65, 60, 63, 65, 66, 64 power play time percentage, right? He has been number 1 power play guy all the time in this team. Always. So, I mean, like I'm trying to go back all the way to freaking his start. Rookie season, he had 51% of the power play. That was his lowest ever, right? So we're talking about a guy that's always been power play 1, and I kind of think that he's still there because of who he is and not necessarily the talent that he has. Because Brand Clark, who's the other power play defenseman on this team, I think is much more talented offensively.
He is, but he's progressing very slowly, which is something normal in young defensemen, right? So, I think he is the future. I think this year, hopefully, they'll try to...
He's only played 25 games in the NHL.
No, exactly, that's it. So, hopefully, this is the year where they're going to bring him in more into the power play and give Drew Doughty a bit more time off the power play. So, we'll see. But, for Drew Doughty, I don't see him hitting more than 50 points this year.
Yeah, I think he's still going to be PP1 this year.
Yeah.
Because
You
I
think so?
Yeah, because Clark has only played 25 games in
And
the NHL.
if they're struggling, they might throw in Clark there for the first 2 minutes just to see. But I think it's his.
I think it's still Doughty's
Yeah.
this year, and then next year you're possibly going to see Clark starting to take over. We can't jump the gun on all these rookies that we're excited about.
No, but you would think natural progression, he would get more power play time.
No, natural progression. He plays more than 25 games this year.
I expect him to be more involved in the power play.
Power play 2. Last year he was 38% on the power play 2. 34%,
Look,
sorry.
in the third quarter of the season, he averaged minute 44 of power play time, and he averaged half a point per game, which was his best. So if they keep that up, then I see him having more of an impact on the team than most people think.
Guess who's back?
Back again.
Darcy's back. Tell
Darcy
a friend.
Kemper.
Darcy Kemper
What do you mean
is.
he's back?
He was with
He was
LA
with LA.
How long ago was that?
Not many games, but I think it was a very short time.
You should know your history, Junior.
I'm surprised.
Very short time. I think
Why don't
I know he was with Arizona.
he played. He
he played like
He
10
played-
games, I think.
it's like he played with LA and Arizona split in 2017
Wow.
and 2018.
Franchement,
Yeah, but he's back in LA,
back again.
back again. What do we think about Darcy Kemper? Do we expect a little bit of a bounce back? I mean, he had a horrible year last year. 890 save percentage, 3.31 goals against average. He was 50th in the league in goals saved above expected. These aren't very, very number one goaltender numbers.
He hadn't had those kind of numbers since his last year with Arizona. So naturally, I would assume his numbers do get better. I do expect him to go in the goals against average of the 2.5 and save percentages of early 900. Is that great? Not necessarily, but I think like Kemper for Talbot is tit for tat. I think I should expect the same.
Yep. Look, it's a very good defensive team. So
Listen, if this team made Talbot look good, they're going to make Kemper look better. So I think you'll have better numbers than Talbot. I think if you're looking down the middle, Kopitar, Byfield, Dano, that's a hell of a defensive down the middle centerman that you have there, right? So, I mean, compared to who did Washington have? Strome. Nobody knows.
that's
Nobody knows.
Lars Eller.
So yeah,
Lars Eller, hey.
Yeah, I feel Kemper is one of the goalies that could be fantasy relevant this year because LA is still going to play for a playoff spot, and their defensive game is much better than where he was in Washington. So I feel like I said
Zero G strategy,
yeah,
maybe?
but yeah, like at the end, like one of the last goals. If you're going with, if in your head you think I'm drafting my goalies last, well, Kemper could be one of these goalies.
I don't think he's a bad pick in Dynasty and cap leagues either. 5.4.
No,
It's not bad. It's not bad. I mean, Dave Riddich really played better than him last year. Dave Riddich had a 921 save percentage, 2.15 goals against average. Goal save above expected, 8th in the league.
do you think Dave Riddich would have had those points playing with Washington?
Look, goals saved above expected is supposed to take away how good your defense
Yeah.
is,
Yeah, I know.
right? I know it still plays some sort of a role, but yes, I mean, I agree. But do you see more of a 1A, 1B with Kemper's age and Dave Riddich kind of doing good last year?
No, last year they won 54 games with Talbot and 24 with Richie. So
Yeah.
I feel it's going to be the same thing this year, especially if Kemper starts off hot.
It's going to be the hot hand.
Yeah. No, I think Kemper will have a longer leash than Talbot had.
Okay, let's finish it off with top prospects.
Not many.
Brant Clark, we spoke about him already. They drafted Liam Greentree in the first round this year. I expect Akil Thomas to have a bigger role this year, see where that goes. Goaltending prospect, Eric Portillo. Alex Turcotte, what's happening with him?
He's my guy to watch to see what is happening with him. He was supposed to be the next, up and comer. Hasn't had his opportunity. I think he had a bit of an opportunity last year, at the end of last year. So he'll be interested because he was drafted top 10, if I'm not mistaken.
I believe so.
So interesting to see. He did the long process. He did the juniors and then he did the AHL for 4 years.
He was in
If I'm not
college,
mistaken?
no?
No.
Wasn't he in college?
No, he left college same time as Caulfield, if I'm not mistaken.
He's only played 32 NHL games in 3 years. So that's the part that I'm a little. He's 23 years old. I think this year he's going to play a full slate of games. He was injured, and he got a couple times injured. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, so sorry, Nick, to barge in, but he played 4 years in the AHL so far. 32 games in the AHL, 21 points. 27 games in the AHL, 18 points. 32 games in the AHL, 17 points. 35 games in the AHL last year, 29 points.
How many games are there in the AHL per
That's-
season?
I'm not sure if he was injured all this time. It's
But that's what I'm saying. Is that there's a little bit of a history here. I think a little bit of
82 games in DHL.
yeah. It's a full season, just like the
think so.
NHL,
I'm gonna check right now.
right? Am I wrong?
I'm gonna check now. I'm gonna check the standings.
Look, you would have hoped that he would have made a little bit of a jump at least already by now, just to show signs that like he can still be what most expected him to be. I think
72.
I think most people are losing hope already with Turcotte, and I think it's make or break this year for most dynasty fantasy players.
Doesn't it remind you a bit of the Velarde situation?
But Velarde at least was already productive with LA a little bit. In the little time that he played, I think he was showing signs that he was a goal scorer. Just he got injured way too often.
I feel this might be more of a Wallstrom situation, where
Wallstrom.
his time is coming up. Like
Look at
like-
Because not that he's one dimensional. Because
No, no.
Turcotte is
No, no,
more
but
known as a two-way.
where it's his time as being great as a top 10 prospect. Usually top 10, you want those 70 points is being like acknowledged as that's not happening, and you'll be a better two-way player, another Philippe Dano maybe, or stuff like that.
Oh, look at his teammate, Arthur Kaliev. He's an RFA right now.
And
A lot of people by now would have expected him at least to be a power play guy. Great shooter, goal scorer. Whether it's opportunity, situational, I'm not sure, but
He's
he's
so
definitely
one-dimensional.
he's definitely not going to be what most people thought.
They're playing him
And-
on the fourth line because he can't defend.
And it's a shame because on PP2 he was actually putting up quite a few points. But
He's a power play specialist.
he's a power play specialist, and they don't survive, especially not on teams like LA in that system.
Well, that's it exactly. I mean, if you would have taken Kaliev out of LA and put him on Anaheim, I think you would have seen a different point production,
Yeah,
more opportunity.
agreed.
You don't have it here on the list because I'm sure that it was done on purpose. But where did they rank in Dom's?
27th, right here.
He's there. Yeah.
27th in Dom's model.
Go all the way to the left, Nick.
I am all the way left.
So then
Double click on the Dubois because it's 2 lines.
ooh.
All right, 27th in Dom's model. Rid themselves of the Dubois contract. Goalies, tit for tat. Pretty much what everybody said. Janot comes in as a hits guy. Fogley, I don't know. They're both kind of
Look,
downgrades.
they lost
on
Arvidsson and Dubois, and they replaced them with Janot and Fogley.
So,
That's a
look,
downgrade.
They're saying that it's Janot and Fogley are downgrades on Arvidsson and Dubois. I think they're pretty much similar.
I mean, yeah, I guess.
I mean, Dubois really has to show me something this year to show that he was worth that contract, and Arvidsson has to stay healthy for him to be considered as somebody that was good for this team.
Oh, look, Fogley put up 40 points. I think Dubois had 40 points.
Are we really still talking about Fogley and Dubois?
Yeah, let's end it here. All right, guys, if you heard something that you don't agree with, please be free to comment on our posts on our YouTube. We are also on Instagram, on Twitter, also known as X. You can find us on all platforms, including Spotify, Apple. Am I missing some?
Don't be afraid to subscribe. It's free.
Please give us a thumbs up and
Thumbs up.
subscribe on YouTube. It's free for you guys, but it makes a big difference for us. So I really appreciate it. And we're here to create discussions. We used daily face-offs today. We used frozen tools from Dauber.
Daily face-off.
Daily face-off. We might have an announcement soon with Dauber, but we'll talk about that another time.
Big news.
Exciting things to come for sure. We also use Fantrax, which is probably
It's the greatest
the best
fantasy hockey site.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah. What he said. Okay. Have a great
All
week,
right,
everybody.
have a great one, guys. Thank you very much. Peace.